I'm not going to edit this. It's just top of dome. I saw someone who was shocked at how fast Republicans moved across the South to destroy black representation. They were shocked by this, and it drove me insane. It drove me insane in a way that I haven't felt in a while, because I'm like, am I crazy? Am I the only one with a working memory? Am I the only person who's read a fucking book? Of course it took Republicans minutes to make new maps. They've been planning this for fucking decades. Since 1965, when the Voting Rights Act was put in place, Republicans had, since that very fucking moment, have set apart a multi-decade plan. They're like the Benny Gesserit of bigots. Multi-decade plan to do this. A big part of it focused on the courts. Controlling the presidency at specific times, solely to get control of the Supreme Court and federal courts across the nation. So they could say, you can't tell us to not be racist via paper. The entire thing, the Supreme Court Voting Rights Act with the striking down recently, a big underpinning of that, and in 2013 when it happened, was that we're not that racist anymore. America's not that racist anymore. America wasn't that racist anymore because we had a piece of paper that said, don't be that fucking racist, John Roberts, you piece of dog shit. And the thing is that's driving me insane is this is just like Roe v. Wade. Multi-decade plan that was set up between a party and between different groups to get political control and to wield it. And not just about that one thing. Not just about that one thing. Because the fight about abortion is tied into civil rights. Overturning Roe v. Wade was part of getting enough power to overturn black representation across the South and reinstitute Jim Crow. All of this is tied into the overarching bullshit of capitalism and whatever you want to fucking do. But the baseline, the thing that moved the needle was racism. It has always been there. And the thing is we're at right now is we're at an area in time where people, by people, I mean the President of the United States and his allies, want to get rid of DEI, right? They want to get rid of teaching things that might make white kids sad. Well, the reason they want to do that is so that way we don't see, we've been through this before, we've overcome it, and here's how you do the multi-decade plan to overcome it again. We went through this, 1865 to 1877, we had Reconstruction. We had Reconstruction, and black people were allowed to vote, and they were allowed to become state representatives and Congress people and all that shit across the South. And then 1877 hits, some elections get all fucked up because of the Electoral College and some other bullshit. And what happened? Black people suffered for over 90 years until the Civil and Voting Rights Act of the 1960s. And then here we go. This time, instead of it being 12 years, we go and we get 60 years. 60 years of it incrementally getting better and things changing. And part of it was because of the Voting Rights Act forcing the southern states to make sure that black people could choose their own representatives. Representatives that made sure they spoke to them and their needs while they're being suppressed in a overall majority white state. And the Supreme Court showed up and said, well, that's old shit. They don't do that anymore. And boom, instantly they go, hey, we get to do the old shit again. This is inextricably part of it. To get that base to affect the presidency, to affect the Supreme Court, they had to make abortion a big deal. They had to make people no longer Catholic, no longer Baptist, no longer Methodist, no longer Lutheran, no longer evangelical. They just had to make them Christian. They just had to make them Christian, and they had to make abortion the number one issue. Because before that, they tried it with busing. Because all of this shit, I just want you to remember, with Supreme Court decisions, we saw how fast the South reacted to this, right? Minutes. Boom. Minutes. Brown v. Board of Education took decades. Decades. Because if they don't want to do something, they'll fucking slow walk it. But the second you say, okay, boom, suddenly, it was like gambling apps. Remember? One day they were like, yeah, I guess in some states we can do gambling apps. Boom, gambling apps everywhere. Now we bet on the fucking weather. Over and over and over again with this shit. And the thing I'm seeing some people still be like, well, we shouldn't get too woke about it. We shouldn't be looking without black voters in the South being access to their representation, you will not have the numbers in Congress for Medicare for all. You won't. You won't have the numbers in Congress to raise the minimum wage. You won't. You won't have the numbers or the power or the base to be able to make any differences. You know why? Because the Confederacy will stand off into its side over there and say, well, then we'll split. There isn't enough buy-in. That's what you're looking at right now. With all of the gerrymandering, all these things, you're looking at the states picking sides and not having a buy-in on each other anymore. So that you're looking at balkanization. If you don't know what that term is, you don't want to look it up. You don't. It's bad. Bad, bad, bad. We're here at the 250th anniversary of America. It's his birthday. And it feels like we're trying to run through all the greatest hits, doesn't it? Wars in the Middle East, inflation, maybe another pandemic again. And now we're doing Jim Crow over again. It's just, we keep bringing back these things because I was told we learn from history so we don't repeat it. But it turns out the president of the Heritage Foundation, he has a doctorate in African American studies. So he learned how to dismantle the power of the African American base. Now, in his mind, he's not doing it because he's racist. He's doing it because they're Democrats. In the South, that is just how the party split has gone. It's been that way since 1965. Ask me how I know. I have family members who were Democrats until 1965. They felt betrayed by Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ. Felt betrayed by him. And so they split. They flipped and followed Richard Nixon because Richard Nixon started whisper campaigns to white Southerners that maybe the Republican Party is what they actually need. And then Lee Atwater showed up. And Lee Atwater said, hey, I've noticed that white Southerners like to use certain spicy words. We're not going to use that. We'll just switch up the code talk. Talk about busing. Then the Department of Education got formed because white Southerners couldn't stop making all white academies and demanding taxpayer money for it. So the Department of Education was created. So what happened? That got added to the plan right next to abortion, right next to all the other shit of how do we create a wedge issue to trick people into voting for a president that will trick people into giving us enough Supreme Court seats so that way we can fuck everyone all the time. And now here we are. The purpose of all of this across the South is to reinstitute a racial hierarchy that puts a small number of white families at the very tippy top. And the billionaires who are involved with all of our social media are also part of the plan. This doesn't happen in the same way without a white South African coming to America pretending he's a lib until he freaks out during 2020. He saw the protests, the Black Lives Matter protests happening across 2020. Why the fuck do you think he bought Twitter in 2022? Right before an election. When you looked at that line of billionaires standing behind Donald Trump on Inauguration Day, did it make you feel seen? When you lose black representation, you also lose opportunity for whole communities. People to be able to not only get out, but to also pull up. As you lose black Congress people, you lose black staffers who would be able to get a good federal job working for that congressperson, who would be able to go to meetings and find out about deals that they could then tell people in their community about. Government programs, certain investments that are happening over here that are going to come back into our community. So just that one white family isn't the only one taking advantage of it. Internships. All of these start to change, and all of them start to look exactly the same. And so then when you go to the great melting pot of Washington, D.C., 50 states, 100 senators, 435 congressmen, thousands of staff, hundreds of interns, families, all moving in and intermingling, sharing culture that makes the melting pot that is America back into America again. and you start removing black people from it because you start changing the maps, you end up with a government that is now completely disassociated from whole communities and cities inside of its own borders. And this doesn't just stop at the federal level. This will go back to the schools. We have school boards, and school boards have districts. And districts in this country are drawn, and a lot of the times, especially across the South, they were drawn racistly. So now you can have a school district with 3 schools in it. 2 majority white, 1 majority black. Guess who's going to get the good new textbooks? Ask me how I know, because we've been through this before. They did it before. They're just going to, this time, they're going to not care about protests. This time, they're not going to care because they don't need to win Walter Cronkite. Who's our Walter Cronkite now, huh? Who's the one voice everybody listens to? Anderson Cooper? Larry Ellison's about to buy him. They're going through and they're making sure that they can divide us up again. And by they, I mean specifically the Republican Party and their allied billionaires. This has been a plan in the work for decades. And the part that drives me insane, the part that truly drives me nuts, is that Democrats have become reactionaries. We have become reactionaries. We look at things and we try to ignore it or hope past it, but we don't try to plan against it. I've been watching how many of our Congress people on the Democratic side have died of old age without training someone as a mentee, as a replacement, as someone to carry the torch forward. Here's all the good things I've learned, all these different things. I'm going to get out of here at 68. I want to spend time with my grandkids. No, we got to stay till we're 82 and we don't know where the fuck we are and we shit ourselves in a goddamn wheelchair. Beyond that, we're reacting all the time. We're reacting. What's trending in the algo controlled by a white South African racist? What's the big deal right now? What are the big parts that are happening around everything? Oh, what do we care about? Is there a TikTok sound I can use? Where's our multi-decade plan? I don't want a Project 2029. I don't. I want a Project 2101. Why aren't we planning in decades and centuries? Why are we reacting by hours? I'm seeing people write messaging for something that happened at 9 a.m. when the story is changed by 5. The President of the United States has he has more scandals than anyone else could survive per day. Because we have to react to every single one of them, don't we? We can't pick our thing and our lane and stick to it and drive it in. There has to be a party platform, multi-planked, that speaks to multiple communities and that also reminds people that on the opposite side of the aisle is the fucking Antichrist. And lastly, to remember that at the end of the day, you can promise a racist many things, but you will never be able to promise him the joy that they get from being a fucking bigot. And that's what we're seeing across the South right now. Rich white Southerners convincing poor white Southerners to constantly and consistently give their buddies power so they can fuck them over. Because they're going to go put more data centers. Oh, as white communities push back, well, guess what? We just gerrymandered shit. We'll just put them closer to Memphis. They're already doing it over and over and over again. It's going to keep happening. And I can already feel people being like, well, we shouldn't talk about race. That'll scare away them. Fuck them. They're racist. They're fucking racist. They're fucking bigots. And when you see someone trying to be the good model minority, hey, just so you know, the guys you're working with are fucking bigots, Vivek. Have fun in those comment sections. We have to get real. We have to get a fucking moment, but we have to start planning on what the future of America looks like. We have a lot of people looking at America 250 and going through this greatest hits. What does America 300 look like? What's America 300? America 350. America 400. America forever. Because I don't hear that message. I don't hear America forever anymore. I sure as fuck hear Texas first. I sure as fuck hear Make America Florida again. I sure as fuck hear a lot of slogans, none of which involve us. Because they don't give a fuck about us, do they? No. We're just a means to the ends. We're just stuck on a spreadsheet of electoral college points as they cut us up and slice us up and dice us up and then feed back our own pictures to us through AI slop. This is not just a dark day in America, it's a dark century. And the sooner I think we understand that, the sooner we can start looking towards the light. Good luck.